You are immersed in a deeply spiritual state. They call it Turya. It is a dreamless sleep, accompanied by a wholly spiritual experience. In your normal state of consciousness, you can't grasp it. There is no connection. It's not worked out yet. Yoga and meditation is exactly what you need.
In today's video, I'm going to be looking at a research and an article which suggests that dreamless sleep might not be dreamless at all, and that there is no strong supporting evidence that this stage of sleep is a completely unconscious state. What's really interesting about this is that such dreamless sleep is characterized by delta oscillations or brainwaves. These are some of the slowest brainwaves humans can emit, which relate to the idea of low brain activity, which is why it is assumed that this is a state of dreamless sleep. However, new research has shown that during altered states of consciousness and even perhaps death, as presented in that single case study of a dying human brain, there is a surge of brain oscillations, including most ranges, but particularly in recent research from Imperial College London, it was noted that these delta waves were associated with the peak of a psychedelic experience triggered by N,N-dimethyltryptamine or DMT. For reference, during these peaks, people usually report meeting autonomous entities, or what they sometimes call aliens, beings made of geometric shapes, amongst a wide range of beings people have reported throughout the literature, which ache to the stories and fantasies of mythology and sometimes even ancient religions. The reports also include existing in different realms of existence and sometimes connection to what some call quote-unquote God or source. To say the least, a lot of people catalog this DMT peak as the most impactful emotional experience they had in their lives. What's curious again is that during this experience the brain is on a low activity brainwave similar to dreamless sleep, and as the research seems to suggest, a stage during the death process, which begs the question: could it be that whatever conscious experience is happening, it's happening at least partially outside the brain? This would lead to an even bigger question: could there be incorporeal consciousness or consciousness outside the brain? Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. Alright, so into this video I'm going to be going into this article, The Mysteries of Dreamless Sleep Come to Align. This is in Life Science. This is a sciencey sort of blog, and there is published research. I'm going to be linking the research and the article below for anyone who wants to go straight into it. Now, the reason why I bring this up right now is because I've been wanting to go into this research for a long time. I kind of forgot about it, but now, as I said, I am writing on the concept of a quote-unquote soul. I think we have enough data and enough research to create a working framework of the concept of a soul. So I found myself into an argument where I need to go back into this specific topic, and I need to go to this article, to this research, in order to have the references ready to include in the book. So all the other playlists where I'm doing everything is light and the ongoing research and so on and so forth, everything is gonna keep going. These are playlists that are gonna keep moving forward, but if I need something like this, I'm just gonna include it. For example, next week I'm gonna be making a reaction video to Sabine Hossenfelder, where she starts talking about the soul, and whenever a physicist starts talking about souls, I am very opinionated about this, because as I've been saying, there seems to be a scientific dogma, and if nobody challenges the priest, we can go back again into the Dark Ages, and I'm gonna be doing that next week. So the videos, the way that I'm gonna be going forward with the channel is like that. I have all these playlists. We're gonna be filling these playlists, and I'm gonna start another one about near-death experiences. So I'm gonna go back and forth between these playlists as we need the information. And as another update that I want to give briefly is, a lot of people are asking me, are they telling me, they send me messages, they tell things about of the nature of your topics are interesting, but I don't understand what you're saying. Could you be more clearer? Could you not go as fast? Could you do this or do that? I do apologize if sometimes I'm not very clear about what I say, but I have to go very quickly through this because I have a lot of research to cover. And this research, as I said, all of these are links for the research that I'm doing. And all of these molecules, brain doesn't contain memory, research the foundation, exploring quantum consciousness, so on and so forth. All of this is for what I'm writing. It's for books. I want to write books. I don't do YouTube as entertainment. I do it to have a catalog of published research of philosophies that are gonna aid me to work on my philosophy, on my own philosophy, on my own work, on my own theory. So I do apologize. Go through the labels. If you get stuck on something, you don't understand something, just go through the labels to whatever you think you can find value in, or go straight to the bottom of the description. There's always the articles, there's always the published research, there's always something for you to go straight into and take your time reading it and take your time understanding. I just want to get that out of the way because I've been getting all of these messages and so on and so forth. I do apologize, but I hope you can find as much value as you can. A lot of people who understand what I'm talking about, who have the background, they can follow really easily. So this is an ongoing thing, and it's for all of us. We're all on this path of trying to understand. I am on the path of trying to understand the ineffable. So sometimes if my thought structure is not as clear, it is because I'm making the arguments myself. I'm working on the arguments in my mind as I make these videos. Alright, so as mentioned, I'm gonna be covering the mysteries of dreamless sleep. Dreamless sleep come to light on life science. There's published research here. I'm gonna be linking it below. So why am I going into dreamless sleep? I made a video a while ago dealing with the transcendental states. When I mean transcendental states, I mean psychedelics, I mean DMT, I mean dimethyltryptamine, I mean when people get high and go into a trip with mushrooms or with LSD and so on and so forth, and they see things, they travel to different realms of existence, they meet with quote-unquote entities who share with them the purpose of reality or just mock them, or they seem like autonomous entities which communicate in some form with them. So in that research from Imperial College London, from a group of scientists spearheaded by Christopher Timmerman, but there's also David Nutt, who was one of the pioneers in the research on psychedelics. So the Imperial College London, this group of scientists, these are the ones who are pushing for the idea that we need to understand psychedelics, and a lot of positive things could come from the official government-backed research on psychedelics. So most of the news that you get about psychedelics and how some people are trying to make them a little bit more mainstream and a little bit be taken seriously by people at large instead of something that is banned or something that is absolutely dangerous or something like that. It usually comes from Imperial College London. So in that research, what they did is they connected EEG reading of the brain waves and whatever happens in the brain at the moment where individuals are going through the quote-unquote peak of a psychedelic trip. That is when they say things like they meet God or they see aliens who are talking to them and they're dribbling basketballs that Terence McKenna used to talk about, and so on and so forth. So when that's happening, what they realize, and the main takeaway from that research, which I'm gonna link in just a second, is was that there's a surge of brain oscillations or brain waves, if you may, and they go into alpha, beta, and delta and theta. So there's a reduction in alpha and beta and an increase, a prevalence of delta and theta. So delta and theta are the slowest ones, especially delta. They're the slowest brain oscillations that we can have. There's lower ones, but as we know right now, they're the slowest ones that we can have, which means that the brain is not really so active when this is happening, because these are slow brain waves. So one of the theories and one of the things that I start talking about is that perhaps whatever experience, whatever conscious experience is happening, is not really happening in the brain. It is perhaps happening somewhere else. Where? I don't know. In the akasha or in the quantum field, or if I've been working on this theory that if everything is quantum information and your soul is bits of quantum information and there is a quantum field, maybe this quantum information can navigate throughout this quantum field and go places, go somewhere else and meet other clusters of quantum information, which are other beings or other quote unquote souls or whatever. I'm working on all of this. I'm juggling with all of this. As I said, excuse me if I'm not so clear, but this is a little bit ineffable to talk about. But the people who do understand, who have done the research, who have gone through the orchestrated objective reduction theory from Penrose and Hameroff do understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to link the Orquart theory somewhere on the screen right now. Biggest theory on consciousness has to do with this quantum information being in the microtubules in the brain and so on and so forth. So through this during this peak, people go through the delta brainwave. So what other references do we have of delta brainwaves? One of them, a really important one, which I am also including in my book, is last year in 2022 we had the first reading, the first EEG on a dying human brain. I made a video about this. I'm gonna link it somewhere in the screen right now. And the issue with that is that this is a study that you cannot do. You cannot just look at a person dying and then you connect everything to it. This was an unfortunate incident where a person who was an elderly man who had some epileptic issues, I think. He was conducting a regular EEG as part of his treatment. And during the procedure, he had a heart attack and he passed on. And so scientists and medical experts were able to have this EEG reading at the precise moment when a person died. So this is huge, and there is so much research going on right now, and Sam Parnia and all the people who are showing consciousness and near-death experiences are just writing on this right now. I'm gonna go into that research in the future, and there are a lot of counter argument research also coming forward. So there's a huge debate around that. One of the things that they found, the main takeaways, as I said, I'm going to link it somewhere on the screen. I already linked it. All the links that I talk about, all the things that I talk about are below on the description of the videos. Everything that is pertinent to this, what I'm talking about, is going to be below. The main takeaway was that there was a huge surge of gamma brainwaves. Gamma is when it is related to when people are in waking consciousness, dealing with something, doing an activity, engaging with something. It's a fast oscillation and they are preoccupied with something. They are dealing with something. So it is interesting when a person is dead or dying or a little bit beyond dying, there's this gamma surge. So something was happening in this person's brain. So the take of what they are saying in that study is that perhaps this is the near-death experience. Perhaps this is the live review where a brain, for whatever reason, we're not even going to question the reasons, is looking at all of the experiences that you went through your life, and it's trying to figure out when you were good or what can you improve, and is creating a 3D replication of your whole life, and it is making up the experiences of the other person. How can the brain do this in the first place? Why would the brain do this in the first place? There's a huge debate on this. And as I said, so the main takeaway is that there was this huge increase in gamma, but also they noticed that this surge of brain oscillations was present as well. Also delta and beta and alpha, beta, theta, and delta. So the delta was there as well. So the whole idea is that when people go through delta is when they are sort of on the threshold between brain activity, between being here in consciousness and being unconscious. That is the threshold. And in in psychedelic trips, in the stories, in the reports, people say that they feel like they are dying, or they are dead, or they are about to die, and they feel that they lose their ego, their self, their idea of self. That's what people say when they are in psychedelics. What do people say when they are in the near-death experiences? They're going through the out-of-body experiences. They say that they lose their consciousness of self. They look at their bodies and they're like, "Who is that? What is that? Is that my body? Was I that person?" So there's a this disassociation with the body, with the self, and this seems to be happening when this delta state is occurring, when there's very little activity in the brain. And what I'm trying to go into is that there is a threshold, and perhaps all of these experiences that happen out of body, that happen somewhere else, they're not really happening in the brain. So this is why there's this disassociation from the brain. It seems that we are looking into a different type of consciousness that is not within the body, is not within the brain, is not within the information of the brain, but somewhere else. As I said, these are ineffable things. So if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go to my channel and go click on any video that you find interesting. I've been talking about this. This is what we talk about in this channel. I have to do with consciousness. So what is another place where we see these delta waves during what they are calling dreamless sleep? So this is what they think, that we are unconscious. The mysteries of dreamless sleep. And what is the research saying? TLDR, there is no proof that we are not conscious during this dreamless sleep. This was my argument. The fact that we cannot remember the quote-unquote dream, does it make it dreamless? Or is it just that we just don't remember because perhaps it's not happening really in our brain? Perhaps we are on this delta where there's slow brain oscillations, and we are on that threshold where our soul, if you may, is traveling somewhere to this quantum field, these quantum bits of information. These quantum bits join somewhere else throughout the quantum field, and whatever information is not being really gathered in the brain. This is why we can barely remember whatever happened where we were traveling in the bardo of dreams. All right. Let's start with this. Deep dreamless sleep has long been thought of a state of unconsciousness, but in a new paper, several researchers suggest consciousness may not completely disappear when the mind recedes into deep sleep. That's the whole thing. Dreamless sleep is there's no dreams, there's no consciousness. The idea is that you are unconscious, you are basically dead. Instead, the article authors suggest people actually experience a range of different states within dreamless sleep. Traditional dreamless sleep has been straightforwardly defined as the part of sleep that occurs while you're not dreaming, and it has been looked as one uniform stage. But the idea that dreamless sleep is an unconscious state is not well supported by evidence. So this right here, this has been what I've been finding while looking into all of these modern research. Modern research is mainly saying we don't really know about these things. We don't know how we store memories. We don't know how quantum really works at a larger scale. So when we say that no, quantum does not exist on a larger scale, when we say like there is dreamless sleep, when we say like okay, memories are stored in some random part of the brain because we think that it is, we don't really have evidence of these things. So this is why it is important to challenge and to keep researching and keep looking into things, because otherwise we just accept things. On the next video, as I said, I'm working on this book and so on and so forth, on this playlist, but I'm going to be introducing things that are necessary at the moment. So this week I've been seeing a video from Sabine Hossenfelder where she starts talking about the soul, and whenever a physicist starts talking about the soul, I find it very interesting, and I am very opinionated about this because we have to challenge the priests. If you do not challenge the priests, we're going back into the dark ages, and these are things that scientists think that we know, that are written on a stone, and they are not. A lot of these things we don't really have these quote-unquote well supported evidence. This is what we have to keep looking into things and keep being curious about it. Said Evan Thompson, one of the authors of the paper and philosophy professor at the University of British Columbia. I do know that they don't really like philosophy. Scientists, they do not like philosophy. This is why I get a lot of hate on my videos sometimes. Rather, research shows that people have conscious experiences during all states of sleep, including deep sleep. Thompson told Life Science. This is what I'm saying. This is my main argument. The fact that you do not really remember the dream. It's not that it is dreamless, it's just that you do not remember, perhaps, as I said, because you are not tethered into the brain. As you are going through these delta brain waves, the experiences are happening somewhere else. There is some form of consciousness. But just another research. I'm gonna link it, as I said, it's right below. You can go through it. Everything is right here. So the main thing that I saw here is consciousness is often said to disappear in deep dreamless sleep. We argue that this assumption is oversimplified. This is another thing that I find while doing the research, is that a lot of the things are so simplified because they needed to write a book in the 90s and put it in the educational system. So a lot of these things are, okay, let's come to a conclusion about this, because we simply cannot know more about consciousness, about neuroscience, about how things exactly work, because we simply do not have the technology or the understanding to come to a solid conclusion. So we're just gonna keep it to the closest ones and pass this knowledge as truth. So these assumptions are often oversimplified. I keep finding this in the research, in the modern research. Unless dreamless sleep is defined as unconscious from the outset, there are good empirical and theoretical reasons for saying that a range of different types of sleep experience, some of which are distinct from dreaming, can occur in all stages of sleep. Consciousness does not ever fade. So now, I'm gonna be talking about this at the end of the video, but just so people, as I'm saying, sometimes people struggle following me. Why is this important? Why is it important that we're always conscious? Because during these delta brainwaves, where there's these slowest oscillations, this is where big things happen. It seems during the psychedelic peak of the trips, or what the little evidence that we have is suggesting about a dying brain. This is where the near-death experience happens. This is where people meet, quote-unquote, God, or they meet aliens, or they go into this transcendental realm in hyperspace, and they become these gods or goddesses with shiny golden hair, or they become these expansive sort of clouds of consciousness which can have 360 vision. These wildest, there's the one, the neuroscientist who, what is his name? His name escapes me. He's one of the most famous near that experience. Even Alexander, where he said he was riding a butterfly, things of that nature. When these strange things happen, they seem to be happening during the delta brainwave state, where consciousness seems to not be tethered into the brain. So we're looking into the realm of imagination. We're looking into the realm of the wild things where people create their own heavens and so on and so forth. So these deep dreams, these where weird things seem to be happening where we don't really remember. The third category is a selfless state of sleep. This is the one that I'm a little bit interested about. What do they mean about self? They don't really explain it, but it does make a lot of sense. I'm going to go into it in just a second. The researchers said that this state not only involves dreamless sleep, but also a certain amount of conscious awareness on the part of the person that he or she is sleeping. Are they talking about lucid dreaming here? This state may be similar to the experience of Indian and Tibetan meditators, the researchers said. They suggested that people who are skilled at meditation are more likely to experience this third state, but more research is needed before scientists can tell whether or not this is true. What are they talking about here? So as I said, the mysteries of sleep go deep. A lot of people say that during sleep is where we contact other realms, or people who have passed, or the people call them angels, some people call them all of them all of the literature, most of the literature, if not all, most of the literature, I would say, because there are some other ideas floating around, having to do with UFO interaction, abductions. I've been talking about this. Sometimes I mention it, and I guess this would make people uncomfortable if you have not been have done any research, because a lot of it comes as very negative, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. But a lot of these quote unquote abductions are actually positive experiences where people go and get healed, and they get visions about the future of humanity and positive ideas like we have to save the planet and so on and so forth. It's not all negative. There's a lot of very positive things in the whole literature, which is, as I said, this is just altruism of consciousness. This is just things that reports that are just we can just look at as data. This is the most complicated research, whatever contains UFO. And I'm gonna be probably approaching this on a private section in the channel in the future. It is part, when you start studying consciousness, analysis of consciousness, you're gonna run into the UFO phenomenon, the alien phenomenon, the extraterrestrial phenomenon. It is part of it. We have to look at it as we look into everything. So a lot of these episodes happen during sleep. When people go into sleep paralysis, or when they go into that. So is this a dream? Is this a nightmare? Is this lucid dreaming? What exactly is happening? There's a lot of mysteries when it comes to sleep. So now, when people go, Indian and Tibetan meditators, when they go into this state of samadhi, what they say is that they can travel through mountains. They can travel to, if you go into the literature on the Buddha, he said that you can travel between the heavens. You can go to the devas or something of that nature and talk to the different beings that exist in these quote unquote heavens. And when you talk about people who do out of body experiences, like Robert Monroe and the people on the Monroe Institute who talk about these things, they say that through certain frequencies and with training, you can escape your body and go and meet people on other planets, or go into hyperspace, or go into different frame sets of reality, or travel through time. And there's a lot of these things. And it's not just, these are not just crazy people, these are not just random hippie gurus. You go and Google Tom Campbell. Go, as I said, I haven't not even made a video about Tom Campbell so far in this channel, but the ideas of Tom Campbell with his big theory of everything, My Big Toe is the name of his book. He's a former NASA scientist who is looking into all of these things, and who looked into the Monroe Institute. If you look into, I made a video named Consciousness Going Mainstream, where I talk about how a TikToker started talking about the Gateway Project, and how there are documents from a government agency dealing with things like reality is an illusion, everything is a hologram. You are able to detach your information from your body and go travel into this hologram, and reality is all made up. And these are official documents. And they're out there if you really want to Google them. I made a video on this. I'm going to link it somewhere on the screen. So all of these things, they're not just crazy people. There are a lot of people talking about these things. And a lot of them used to be NASA scientists. So all of these things tie together. As I said, at the core, it seems we are information, living in a matrix of information. So if we manage to detach our information from the physical matrix or vessel, we can navigate the whole field, the whole grid of information. So this is what seems to be happening during sleep. Indian and Tibetan meditators, when they go into the state of samadhi, they can achieve this state. And perhaps all of us do while we sleep. And when we are in this dreamless sleep where we cannot remember anything, perhaps this is what is in the literature and the New Age literature. They say when you are dreaming, you're exploring different sets of reality, or you go meet your higher self, or whatsoever. A lot of people have these dreams. During dreams is where they go into the spiritually transformative experiences, where they say, oh, I was in heaven, I saw a light, and the light talked to me, and it downloaded the information into me, and so on and so forth. So there's this connection between this, perhaps, and most likely, this dreamless state and the transcendental experience. So now the other important thing here is this selflessness. The fact that it's selfless indicates that, and this has happened to me personally, where I'm not saying that I had like huge experience or anything, but just sometimes you just go to sleep and you have like a deep sleep, and then you wake up, especially when you take a nap in the afternoon, not like during your regular sleep hours, but sometimes when you take a random nap and then you wake up, you don't even remember what day it is. You don't remember who you are. You're like, oh, I had a life. I'm back into my life. Oh yeah, I remember now. I am living a life. That has happened to me, and so it seems that perhaps when we detach ourselves to this dreamless sleep, we become selfless. So now this would be like a random thing that happens during sleep. But what do all other reports of psychedelics near-death experience are saying? People feel this ego death, this selflessness. When they go into the near-death experience, as I said, they look at their bodies and they're like, "What is that? Is that me? Was I you? Oh, I remember now. Yeah, I had a life. I was that body, but it's not really me." And the same thing happens in psychedelics. People say, they call it. It is a term, the ego death, where they feel that they are dying and their ego dies. They're not connected to themselves. So this is why I'm thinking this is starting into my own theory that I'm working on. It seems that all of these states happen during the delta, the slowest brain oscillation. So it means that whatever information we are, perhaps, is detaching itself from the information that is within that brain, and it's going to somewhere else. So you're starting to frequencies. So how are we who we are? A lot. There's these other theories that suggest that we are simple frequencies, and when we shift our frequency, we are into a different conscious state, conscious level. So perhaps when we are in our bodies, we are in a certain frequency, and when we are outside, we're in a different frequency. So who we are that consciousness itself, that selfless state of consciousness, which can adopt or portray or imitate individual consciousness who are our egos, our characters in the world. Alright, so it keeps going. Studies have shown that some experienced meditators actually have brain rhythms that are distinct from those of non-meditators. Yeah, they have done the EEG on meditators and Buddhists and so on, and they've seen that there's different things happening in their brain, such as higher level of activity called gamma band activity, which has been linked to a number of different brain functions, including attention and memory. So this is, as I said during that first EEG on a human dying brain, this is one of the main takeaways. During the peak of the experience, this person was experiencing this gamma oscillation activity, which was attention, waking consciousness, memory, engagement in something. So this is what they're saying, that this is perhaps the near-death experience. This is where he was having his life review, and since it's tied to memory, this is what was happening. I made a whole video about it on how there's a lot of things that they are not addressing, and the same things I'm putting in my book. There's a lot of arguments regarding that. In case, as it says here, however, more research is needed to see whether skilled meditators actually experience more of this third category of dreamless sleep, they said. This is why I think it's actually happening. They go into this delta brainwave set where we have this quote-unquote dreamless sleep. I mean, the true meditator, the ones who go really out there and who they die while meditating. Yeah, they've seen that Buddhists who die while meditating and his body kind of remained a little bit longer or something of that nature. And there's this tradition that they die meditating. There's something of that nature. I'm gonna see if I can pull an image and put it somewhere if I can find it. But this is what I think is happening. As I said, psychedelics, everything seems to be pointing towards these delta brain waves when these strange experiences are happening. So tradition B is of memory formation during sleep, rely on explanations that involve distinct sleep stages. For example, the stage of declarative memory, the memories of facts and events, conscious recall. So the whole thing about memory, as I said, is very fuzzy, and we don't really know what memory is all about. I made a video that is called something along the lines of memories. We do not store, quote unquote, store memories in the brain. That memories exist at the cellular, synaptic, and system level, the synaptic levels. They are how your brain configuration creates a memory, is by the connection of the neurons within your brain and the synapses that happens at the exact moment, which create a memory, create an experience. This is what creates your conscious experience, this specific memory. So when you recall it, the specific neurons recreate the pattern again, and then you add things, and so it's different. You add different synapses to it, and so on and so forth. So what's happening during memory is very, very strange, and the same pattern is again. We don't have enough evidence to understand what's happening, and everything is still open for debate. So you can go through it. You make your own mind. As I'm saying this, I'm making my own arguments here. But all the information is out there for you to go through it and to come to your own conclusions. So I'm gonna link that video. When I link videos, I don't expect people to watch the whole video. When I link the videos, go to the video, go to the bottom, and there's the article and the research. Go through the research or the article, whatever you prefer, and come up with your own things. As I said, I don't do this for entertainment. I do it for furthering my own research and to share it with people who are serious about this research. Alright, so it keeps going. The exact, this is just to finish. It talks about memory, it talks about sleep disorders, how they can help sleepwalking. But as I said, I'm not looking for sleep disorders. It's great that they can help people with that, but they're looking into something much, much, much bigger than sleep disorders. They're looking into some of the biggest mysteries of consciousness right here. So the exact relationship between sleep behavior and sleep experience remains far more of an open question that is commonly assumed. So this is what I'm saying. You don't believe anything that anyone tells you, because right now a lot of research is coming forward that saying that everything that we believe is not true. We don't really know how things work. So go through the research and make your own mind. This is why I always link it. Finally, the author said that they hope that more research into the possibility of the selfless state of dreamless sleep may help people with insomnia. As I said, they're talking about insomnia, this thing. The selfless state might be the key to unlocking what we truly are as human beings. We're not our characters. We are this selfless state of consciousness, where consciousness itself. So this is the key of the whole thing. So I'm glad that they're looking into the future of this. However, no current evidence shows that people can become aware of being asleep when they are not dreaming. So you think about lucid dreaming, people become aware of that they are dreaming. But during these deeper stages, there's no evidence that people become aware, have some sort of awareness of consciousness. Thompson says still researchers hope that the new research on dreams and sleep states could provide further support for their ideas. I'm not sure what's happening here. If you think about your dreams and people who become good at recalling dreams, sometimes I personally have these dreams where I can't remember feelings, I can't remember things, but there are these other dreams that are very meaningful to me. And sometimes you just wake up and you had a crazy dream. You had a crazy revelation through your dream, but you don't remember a thing about it. So we don't know how. My idea here when it comes to memory is that since we are doing the delta brainwave oscillation, our brain is not really active. So our brain is not really capturing the experience that perhaps let's call it our quantum information or our quote unquote soul is experiencing somewhere in the sea of quantum information that reality might be. Reality might be this huge sea of quantum information and electromagnetic fields that are just charged with information into a huge hologram that some people call quote unquote God. So our specific individuated unit of quantum information, of clusters of quantum information, is going into somewhere and experiencing things. And sometimes these bits of information leak back into our brain, and this is why we can remember these wild dreams a little bit, flashes, images, and this seems to be what happens. So what exactly is happening with people who go through psychedelics or through near experiences? They said these beings shared the biggest mysteries of the universe with me, and everything was downloaded and I understood everything and everything made so much sense, but now I cannot remember a thing about it. Or I only remember the basic things or certain things. Because it seems that all of these transcendental, weird, strange, paranormal, fantastic experiences are happening outside of our brain, outside of our own characters that we play world. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.